When thinking about turning left or turning right, one of the common faults that we see is people get themselves into the correct position and then they swing out in the other direction to make the turn easier. For turning left, we should be in position 1. So on the approach, we do mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. Yet sometimes we see people get into position over on the left into position 1, and then they'll come out again to then turn left like a lorry does or a van does. This is not necessary on a motorcycle, and it will cause you to gain faults or fail your test if it's unsafe to do so at the time that you do it. If you do it and it's safe to do so, i.e. there's no car that's decided to pass you at that time or could potentially pass you at that time, you'll get a fault for it. If you do it when it's not safe to do so, i.e. a car has already committed to pass you, or a cyclist has started to move past you, or some other road user has decided to use the space that you then swing out into, it's going to cause you to fail your test. So focus on keeping in the safe position. So if we're turning left and we're approaching, it's mirrors, signal, lifesaver, and position 1. We stay in position 1 to complete the turn. We can use the clutch to keep it nice and tight, but we stay in position. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position 1. Stay there, pull the clutch in to keep it tight, and then use the clutch to gain your speed again. What we don't want to see you doing is what I'll demonstrate next. So this is what we don't want to see you doing. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. Approaching the junction, you then decide it's going to be much easier for you to do this. And it is much easier for you to do that, but it's not safer for you to do that. Same again, mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. As you approach the junction, you swing out where there's a car already passing you on your right, or another road user already passing you on the right, and that's the problem. No swinging out when turning left or turning right. Turning left, keep left. Use the clutch, keep it tight. Same again, mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. Slow it down, hold your position. Use the line of the curve to help you line it up. Use the clutch and land in the middle of your lane. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. Bring the speed down. Use the clutch. Keep it tight. And then off we go, landing in the middle of the lane. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. Slow down. Clutch in. Use the clutch. Keep it tight. One of the other common faults is people not landing in the middle of their lane. So mirrors, signal, lifesaver, and position. We should be landing in the middle of our lane. Okay, that's here, the middle of my lane. Even though there's no white line up the middle of this road, I can quite easily tell where the middle of the lane is. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. And again, use the clutch to keep it tight. So we're pulling the clutch in and gently reintroducing as we come round to land in the middle of our lane. There is enough room for a car to be coming towards us down here as well. And what we regularly get people do is land in the middle of the road, not the middle of the lane. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. This is what some people do. They manage to hold their position correctly as they come up to the junction, but then they do this, swinging out on the exit and then come back in again, which is a different sort of swinging out. So that's usually caused by a lack of control and a lack of focus, depending on whether you know you should be landing in the middle of your lane when you're turning. So try to avoid swinging out wide, either on the approach to your junction or on the exit from your junction. So keep it tight, slow it down, use the clutch to choose where you want to land. And by using the clutch, we are determining the precise location where we want to put the front wheel and the rest of the bike. And it's exactly the same process and routine for right turns. So if we were turning right, it would be mirrors, signal, lifesaver, and position. Keep it in this position to turn right and land on the middle of our lane, in the middle of our lane. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver, and position. Lifesaver, use the clutch to land in the middle of your lane. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver and position. We don't want to see you do this to turn right. That's swinging out, that's what we don't want to see. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver and position. Sometimes people swing left here before they then turn right like this. Don't do that, because you're putting yourself back into an area of the road that you've just told people you don't need to use anymore. So by signalling right, you're telling people you will be moving in the right direction only. And if you swing out at the last minute, any vehicles who've decided to pass you on your left could catch you and knock you off. So when you are turning right, mirrors, signal, lifesaver and position. Make sure when you do this lifesaver to turn, you relax your elbows so you don't push on your left handlebar, pushing the bike to the left, which is quite common. When people look over their right shoulder, they push down and away on that handlebar. So I'll try and demonstrate it just with some shoulder checks. So people who look over their right shoulder do that. If we're approaching the right T-junction, mirrors, signal, lifesaver and position, what we shouldn't be doing is swinging out to the left to take the turn. Mirrors, signal, lifesaver and position. Hold your position, hold your position, hold your position. Drop your elbows, lifesaver and turn. Avoid swinging out, and do use your clutch if these turns are tight. By using the clutch we mean pull it in and gently reintroduce to control your line. And if you haven't seen it yet, I've already done an upload on whether this is classed as coasting or not, and it's not, because we're actively using the clutch to control the line and the power of the bike. Remember, the strategies and procedures for turning left and right aren't just for passing your test. Those procedures are in place for the test because they are the safest way to carry out the left and right turns. So practice. Make sure you stay in position. Make sure you land in the position that you want to land in, without putting yourself in unnecessary danger by swinging out like a lorry driver, or landing in a position that puts you in danger, so perhaps position 3 with oncoming traffic, which again, if you turned left and there was oncoming traffic coming towards you and you landed in position 3 on your test, if you're too close to the vehicle coming towards you, you would fail your test because it's unsafe. You're putting your safety in their hands by presuming or assuming that they are paying attention, they're looking for you, they're not going to come over that central white line. There's a really good reason that position 2 is our general riding position as a rule, and it's because it equalises the danger between what's on the left and what's on the right. So position 2 is where we should be landing in any lane when we're turning or changing lanes, for example, as I've just done. Turning right at traffic lights or turning left at traffic lights, if it's a dedicated lane, you can be in the middle of your lane, you don't have to be in the far positioning for this turn unless you choose to be there because you want to be for any reason. So I could put myself in the far right position now, so I'm lined up with the van's mirror. Whilst in this position though, I still need to be aware that the distance between me and the van needs to be safe so that I can ride out of it, but also that I've left quite a big gap on my left. So if I wasn't behind a van, I would be in the middle of the lane for turning right in this lane, because it's unlikely somebody's going to come up on my right hand side and try and turn right around me. But that's what your shoulder checks are for when you're moving off, making sure that you're checking those blind spots just in case somebody has sneaked into it whilst you weren't paying attention or weren't checking your mirrors. And again, if we're turning right in a dedicated lane at a roundabout, we can be in the middle of the lane, but as we come onto the roundabout, we need to keep it nice and tight to the roundabout. See a lot of people swinging out wide from roundabouts and putting themselves in unnecessary danger with the cars that could potentially be passing them on their left. So if you are turning right around a roundabout, keep it tight as you enter so that you don't get anywhere near the traffic that could potentially be passing you on your left. Left at the end of the road, so mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position 1. We should be turning left from position 1. And that's one of the really good examples of why we should be in position 1. That car was cutting the corner off, but it's quite helpful. I mean, if we were turning right, it wouldn't have been helpful at all because we'd have been in 3. But if you're turning left, stay in position 1 on the approach. Use your clutch to keep it tight as you come out of the junction, landing in position 2, which is your normal riding position. Turning left, keep left. Or position 1 to turn left. So in this lane, the arrows marking the lane are a straight ahead combined with a left arrow. So if we want to turn left at these traffic lights, in this lane we should be in position 1. That's so that there's no space on my left now for a cyclist to get up on my left. Saves me the hassle of having to do another lifesaver before I turn left for that reason. If I was in position 2, I've still got a big enough gap on my left for somebody to sneak into that blind spot. So you'd need to do, if you were in position 2 to turn left, you would need to do shoulder checks for moving off, and then as you get to the point where you're about to turn, you'd need to do another shoulder check or another lifesaver to turn, in case somebody had sneaked into your blind spot after you'd set off. So to avoid all of that, I'm going to do my shoulder checks. I now need to do no more because there can't be anybody on my left because I'm in position 1. And then landing in position 2, my left turn is complete. So if you're turning left and it is not a dedicated lane, you should be in position 1. If you're turning left in a dedicated lane, you can be in position 2 if you want to, and I would recommend that if the lane is wide, and by being in position 2 you're dominating your position and preventing people from coming up next to you and turning around you. And that does then mean that you would need to do an additional lifesaver as you came into the turn, just in case somebody sneaked into your blind spot between you setting off and committing to that turn. Turning left at a mini roundabout. Mini roundabouts tend to be a single lane entry, so on single lane entry roundabouts we should be using the positions for the turn that we're about to do. So turning left once again, we should be in position 1. And then landing in position 2. One of the most common phrases that I use is turning left, keep left. Think about the information that you're giving to people by being in that position 1 as well. You're confirming that your intention is to turn left. We get a lot of students who try to turn left from position 2 or position 3. Turning left from position 2 is okay, but you would need to do a lifesaver before you turned because you've got a gap to your left. Turning left from position 3 is not okay because the gap on your left is much too wide. So if you're turning left from position 3, you would need to do a very obvious and very effective lifesaver in order to be able to turn left to save yourself from failing your test. And you'd probably still pick up a fault for it because you're in the wrong position to turn, but at least you won't fail for it because you have checked that it is safe to turn. But you shouldn't be turning left from position 3 because it's not a safe manoeuvre because there's too big a gap on your left to turn across. If you've had to move out past parked vehicles and you want to turn left at the end of the road, I would try and wait until you're either past the parked vehicles or you're close to passing them before you put your left indicator on. We sometimes see people moving out to come past the parked vehicles with their left signal on, which is giving conflicting information. So try and think about the information that you're giving to people whilst moving out to come past parked vehicles. I would try and get the majority of moving position done before you then need to indicate or before you then choose to indicate. Remember, turning left, keep left, mirrors, signal, lifesaver, position. Nice and early, that gives you loads of time to get your braking done, to come down through your gears, to have a look, have a quick double check, and off we go. Position 2. Following on from turning left, keep left, guess what? Turning right, keep right. So if you're going to be turning right, you should be in position 3, turning right from position 3, and then landing in position 2 in your lane, which is your general riding position. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.